How are we feeling about that schedule, Miami Dolphins fans? It is Ben Morgan of the Fins Up Network. And yes, the 2024 NFL schedule has officially been released. We always knew the opponents, but now we've got some dates, some weeks that we can assign to those teams. So if you've been waiting to make your travel plans, getting ready to see which games can I attend this year, time is now. So that's what we are here to do today. We are going to dissect that Miami Dolphins schedule. We're going to talk primetime games. We're going to talk the most difficult stretch of the season, at least in my opinion. We're going to talk about those most intriguing matchups. We're going to end with some, way too early, crazy regular season predictions. We're going to jump into all of that action here in a second. But first, I want to hear your thoughts on the schedule. How do you see us finishing this puppy out record-wise? Let's hear your way too early predictions as well. What matchups are you looking forward to the most? Any thoughts that you've got on this team schedule heading into the 2024 season, go ahead and drop them in the comments. If you want a reminder as to when the games will be played, we've got the entire schedule going on the scroll there. I will take that off here in a little while. But for the time being, we'll let it fly, and we're going to kick things off with the primetime games because we approach the 2024 NFL season with 5 scheduled primetime games, and they come in at week 2 right away. You got the Bills on Thursday night. You got week 4 Titans on Monday night. Week 10 Rams on Monday night. Week 13 Packers, which is the Thanksgiving night game. And we get the week 17 against the Browns on Sunday Night Football. Now, all of these matchups, it's a primetime matchup. Everyone loves a primetime matchup. And quite honestly, our history should say as Dolphins fans, maybe we should stick away from some of these primetime matchups. We haven't performed the best under the bright lights, but all of these matchups have a little bit of a storyline or intriguing for their own reason. If you look at the Bills game, do I even need to tell you why playing the Bills in a primetime slot is intriguing? Look at the Bills this year. Think about all the teams that have improved what they've done throughout the offseason. Well, the Bills just said, you know what, Stephon Diggs, you're not the best guy for this locker room. Let's ship you off to Houston. And Gabe Davis, we're not going to re-sign you as well. We're going to take Keon Coleman. We're going to see what we can do at this receiver position moving forward. And is Josh Allen really superhuman or not? Well, I'll tell you what. There's a guy named Jalen Ramsey. There's a Kendall Fuller. There's a Javon Holland, who I really hope can catch some of those passes from Josh Allen rather than all those new wide receivers that they've got. That game is a huge opportunity to make a statement to say, you know what, you guys have kind of controlled the East ever since Tom Brady has left. Time for a change in that. So that's a huge one. I don't need to talk anymore about that. Week 4 against the Titans, Monday Night Football. You think about this, you can say, they're an up-and-coming team. They've got a second-year quarterback, but it goes beyond that. Remember kind of when the season started to crumble a little bit last year? Yeah, it was prime time against the Titans when we blew an end-of-the-game lead, when Tyreek Hill got his ankle rolled up and he wasn't quite ever the same after that, when we lost Connor Williams early. Like I said, that one still pains me. That, in my opinion, was like the biggest downfall of the season. We need revenge. You get an opportunity in week 4. Week 10 at the Rams, Monday Night Football, obviously. All of these guys, when they're growing up watching football, everyone thinks about playing on Monday Night Football. But now you've got the intrigue of Sean McVay and Mike McDaniel getting to square off for the first time after being colleagues, and now they're both head coaches. You get that matchup. You got Odell Beckham returning against the team that he won his Super Bowl with. Awesome storylines in that one. Week 13 against the Packers. Thanksgiving, but not just Thanksgiving, the Thanksgiving night game. And this one, I have a little bit of a personal bias too. If you're new to the Fins Up Network, I'm actually from Wisconsin. A lot of my friends, a lot of my family, my wife, they're all Green Bay Packers fans. We got to win that one. We absolutely need to win that one for my sake, for my sanity's sake. And week 17 against the Browns, Sunday Night Football. Remember a few years ago when the media just obsessed about a certain quarterback that they thought would be able to fill the shoes, not even fill the shoes, but take over the shoes of Tua Tagovailoa? Yeah, Deshaun Watson. Yeah, that's going to be quite the matchup. We're going to see how all of that one plays out as well. But yeah, 5 primetime games as of now. We'll see how the flexing goes throughout the schedule, but all of those intriguing for their own reason. Let's talk about the difficult stretches because this schedule comes out, and obviously the leaks and everything from it. There is a part of this season that stands out to me just head and shoulders above the rest. And unfortunately, it's a long part. It's week 13 and on. From that point, You're at Green Bay. You're home versus the Jets. You're at the Texans. You're home versus the 49ers. You're at the Browns. You're at the Jets. That's 3 of your last 4 that happened to come on the road. 3 of those teams made the playoffs last year. And the Browns and the Jets, the 2 that didn't make the playoffs, Deshaun Watson stays healthy. They have one of the best teams that you're going to find on paper. And I know it's just on paper, but if Deshaun Watson can stay healthy, they can find some consistency on the offensive side of the ball. That's a team that's going to be knocking on maybe not the division's door, but at least for the wild card. So yeah, conference game. And then you look at the Jets. If Aaron Rodgers can last more than 4 snaps this year, they're going to be a drastically different team as well. So that stretch stands out crazy, more so than anything that I've seen on this schedule so far. I do think we get a little bit of a break in our schedule. 3 of the first 4 games that we play are at home. But like I said, we pay for it. We absolutely pay for it at the end of the season with that gauntlet of a stretch. The other thing that you can look at is that we get the early home matchup against the Bills. The problem is it's not that 1 p.m. kickoff where the sun can be blamed again by Buffalo Bills fans. So it's not like we're going to have that advantage. However, in my opinion, things sort of even out if you look at our matchups against the Bills because, yeah, it's a night game when we play them in September at home. However, when we travel to Buffalo, it's week 9. Compare that to having to play there in December or January. I'm going to take that every day of the week. I love the idea of being able to just beat the Bills and just kill them with the heat once again, just to see like how their fans react to that. But if I can trade off not having that by not having to go there in December or January, sign me up. Let's talk about the non-division game. I mean, let me start this over. Most intriguing non-division game because hands down, I always feel like the divisional games, they carry more weight. They're the teams that you're obviously playing for your conference championship. They're in your conference, so you're playing for them at some level for even wild card spots. So the most intriguing non-division game, you got a couple of nominations in my opinion. We talked about Monday Night Football versus the Rams. McVay, McDaniel, OBJ, storylines galore. Thanksgiving versus the Packers. I already talked about my personal bias with that one, but you've got Tua Tagovailoa and you got Jordan Love, who are looking the part at quarterback, looking to be the future for their teams at quarterback, and both likely in that market to get that extension. So that's going to be a super intriguing matchup as well. Week 15 against the Houston Texans, both of those teams, Dolphins and Texans, project to be in that playoff hunt. It's part of that late season gauntlet that we've talked about and we'll continue to talk about. And it's our first time playing against CJ Stroud in the regular season. So obviously, like I said, intrigue there. My winner, though, for this question is going to be that week 16 game at home against the 49ers. As you likely know, it's not the first time that we've played the 49ers under Mike McDaniel, the team that he was previously with before coming here. Well, like I said, it's part of that late season gauntlet, and it's your last regular season home game. Now, I say that knowing that it might not fall into that must-win category because, like I said, it's not even a conference game, but this is your opportunity to get a huge statement win because, like I said, maybe not a must-win game, but it's that late season gauntlet where we're going to need to get a couple of those wins. And now if you look at the cream of the NFC, 49ers are in that conversation. If you can win a late season matchup against a team of that caliber, when it's your final opportunity to play at home, that is huge. Remember last year when we just had narrative after narrative after narrative. And at the end of the season, it was, well, the Dolphins can't beat a team with a winning record. Finally got to beat the Dallas Cowboys on Christmas Eve. This could be one of those situations where it's like, well, the Dolphins beat up on some teams early and now they're not being able to beat anyone. 49ers at the end, what is that, like week 16 or whatever it ends up being? It's like 2 or 3 days before Christmas. Could be a huge statement game for this team. Let's talk about some potential cold weather games here if I can get my mouse figured out. All right, here we go. I don't think every team focuses on potential. I'll get this sooner or later. I don't think a lot of teams focus on cold weather games, maybe the way that I do or Dolphins fans in general do, just because I'm 36. My entire life as a Miami Dolphins fan has been, yeah, we can do well, but man, you get us in those cold weather situations, end of the season situations. it's inevitable. We fall flat quite often. So I always look at what games end of the season might be impacted by weather. Well, we've got three that came to my attention. Week 13 at the Packers, week 17 at the Browns, week 18 at the Jets. Now, I'll say that we've gotten sort of lucky the last couple of seasons by not really having too many of these crazy cold regular season games. I think back to 2 years ago when we played against the Bills, where it wasn't super cold, but the snow came in the fourth quarter. We ended up losing that game. We looked good in the process, but we haven't really had like a ton of games like at New England or against the Jets where like the weather has really played a factor. I mean, think about at the Jets last year, Black Friday, like weather wasn't even a factor in that game. However, I do think this year there are some real opportunities for weather to play a factor, especially those last two against the Browns and the Jets. Now, what I'm going to say here is going to sound fairly obvious, but I truly think that we need to start hot. We need to build a little bit of a cushion when it comes to this division. We did that last year, and obviously we saw how faltering. We didn't even end up winning the division with multiple opportunities to do it. But let's talk about why I say that as we get into our way too early predictions. Now, you could say that we can realistically start this season 7-0. Listen to this. If you take care of business at home against the Jaguars, if you win your home game against the Bills, you then have to travel to Seattle in week 3. However, you've got a long week because the week before, week 2, you're playing that on Thursday night. So yeah, Miami to Seattle, I believe, is miles-wise the longest an NFL team can travel, but you got a long week to do it. So the schedule's favorable in that sense. After that, we're going to be favored at home against the Titans, that Monday night game, or that primetime game, yeah. You got a road game against the Patriots. However, once again, it's early October. Weather's likely not going to play as much of a role in that. So I'll take that and chalk that up as being favorable. So that's the first 5 that you've got before the bye week. Then you get that full week off of your bye week before a road game against the Colts, who I think will be improved. We'll see if Anthony Richardson can stay a little healthier this year. I think they'll take a step forward. As of today, though, I still think the Dolphins, even on the road, should be favored or at least in a favorable position there against the Colts. Then you're home against the Cardinals before you hit the road against the Bills in week 9. So is 7-0 realistic? It's a tall task. You can't rule it out. You can't rule it out when you factor in everything. And I know teams have letdowns. 7-0, 6-1. And I say that you got to probably hit one of those numbers and you got to stay hot because of that late season gauntlet that we've talked about. But before that gauntlet, you go, like I said, at Bills, you're at the Rams, you're home versus the Raiders, and home versus the Patriots. Let's say of those 4, you win 2 of those 4. So if you can get out to a 6-1 start, win 2 of your next 4, you would be 8-3 heading into that final 6. And that's kind of, like I said, the common denominator of today's video of the schedule is that final 6. You can go 8-3 heading into that final 6. That final 6 being Packers, quite honestly, at Lambeau, Thanksgiving, night game. That's going to be tough. I go either way on that one. Home versus the Jets, you got to win. At the Texans, that's going to be tough. Obviously, 49ers, even at home, obviously going to be tough. At Browns is winnable by all means, but as we discussed, they're likely going to be better this year. Weather can play a factor as well, being late December. And then you got week 18 versus the Jets, likely a toss-up type of game. So let's say you can split that final 6-week gauntlet. Going with all the projections we already did, you'd finish 11-6 in the regular season, which is going to put you in the playoffs, and it's going to put you in contention for the AFC East. However, let's say you don't go 3-6, or if you don't split the final 6, going 3-3 in the final 6. Say you win 2 of those 6. Well, now you're 10-7, which puts the division severely in doubt and likely puts you in that running in contention for one of those final wild card spots. So yeah, as of today, if I'm making my way too early prediction, and we'll get to all this later in the season once training camp, preseason, all that plays out, I'll say 11-6. Like I said, drop your way too early predictions in the comments as well. We're just having fun with it today. But a hot start may be super crucial with the way that the season ends and with us having a history of fading a little bit later into the season. Dolphins fans, we are going to kill it there for today. I'm going to be back soon with a preview of the upcoming OTAs and mini camps, some things to watch for. at least in my opinion, as we get back onto the field for some Miami Dolphins football. But as I mentioned, drop your thoughts on the schedule, your win-loss predictions, game that stand out, things that you're looking forward to, maybe games that you're planning on traveling to. Go ahead and drop them in the comments. Let's carry on the conversation there. Like I said, we will end there for today, Miami Dolphins fans. But until next time, Fins